Welcome back, everybody. My name's Poison Ducky, and this is another Total War Warhammer 2 replay. I'm playing as the Crooked Moon again, and I'm using my Gobbos. This build is going to be slightly different. I made a few adjustments. As you can see, I brought along an Orc Shaman this time. I was realizing that I was neglecting the use of Winds of Magic, and that's just a mistake in general. Winds of Magic is just too powerful not to use. So I did make just a few differences in my army here. So I do bring another line of Night Goblins. This time I only have one line, 5 in the front. The difference is that I brought the 8 Peak Loonies this time. These are unbreakable, and they're the Fanatic variation of Night Goblins. I still have the Warlord's Boys, and then the other 3 are just normal Night Goblins. And that's going to be my front line. Of course, I'm going to have Nasty Skulkers on the flanks, just to make sure to stop any charges, like maybe stop Rat Ogres, Doom Flares, anything. God, rats are so dangerous nowadays. And then, of course, I have a line of 3 archers, with one of them being the Regiment of Renown, the Rusty Arrows. What I switched out last time was this time I have the Goblin Wolf Riders. I don't have Goblin Spider Riders this time, but I did bring along the Regiment of Renown, the Moon Howlers. So they're just Goblin Wolf Riders that cause fear. And fear is very useful against the Skaven hordes, as their leadership is quite low. And of course, to stop any large units such as Rat Ogres or Doom Flares, any sort of like annoying play in which wheels come at me, or like little rat lawnmowers, I have the Broken Tusk Mob to be my anti-large armor piercing unit, and I have my Arachnarok, of course. Just can't go without an Arachnarok. They're just so cool. They spawn spiders, and they're just fun to use in general. And my general, of course, is the mighty Skarsnik. You gotta have schemes, and he's got schemes. Alright, looking over at the Ratman army. Hello, Skaven. He went pretty bold with 2 Hell Pit Abominations. Oh god, look how disgusting these things look. And it's quite clear he put most of his money in that. He just has a front line of a lot of Skaven, clan rats with spears. Just very cheap, nothing special. And a back line of Plague Monks to, support them and be the anti-infantry he needs. This is going to be very powerful against my goblins, but you'll see I find ways to deal with them. And he only has 1 ranged unit, the Night Runners with slings. And slings are not very powerful. They're not going to be very effective, especially against an Arachnarok Queen. And the cycle charging of Broken Tusk Mob. And with all these Goblin Wolf Riders, it'll be clear that the slings won't be enough. Alright, so getting into the battle here. I see that the main threat are the 2 Hell Pit Abominations, and immediately throw. But look at here. I use my Epic Loonies. This is the Vortex ability that the Fanatics use, and I just send this is just fantastic. With 1 ability, I take out like half the health of 3 clan rats with shields. It's fantastic. But back over the left flank, it's very clear I have to make sure these Hell Pit Abominations need to die. I just swarm this one. Arachnarocks, all my archers are going to be focusing on 1 Hell Pit Abomination, while the Arachnarok deals with another. And as you can see, it's only a minute into the replay, and this Hell Pit Abomination has only 25% health left. Of course, I send my Goblin Wolf Riders to distract the ranged units, the 1 ranged units they have. And the Skaven will be summoning units in my back line, but luckily I do have a very wide line. My Nasty Skulkers will defend my back line, and it's okay. He does get a good death wind over on my archers, but it's not going to be enough to make up of the deficit of the Hell Pit Abomination. With 1 almost dead and the other one's getting very low, Skarsnik and my Orc Shaman finally make it into the battle. And Skarsnik is going to do so much damage to anything large, and it's just such a fantastic lord for these kind of cases. My Broken Tusk Mob are sitting back a little bit. Maybe it was a micro error, maybe I'm using it for reserve. You'll never know. My units will be routing slightly. They're goblins, what do you expect? And he does have a flank coming over here. He did outnumber me in terms of a front line with like 7 clan rats with spears and swords, so like he will have a wider line than me, but because of me focusing down his units, you can see that that's already 1 Hell Pit Abomination down, spawning its Skaven slaves. And with this one routing, we have a pretty good chance. I need to chase this, and I need to kill this Hellpit Abomination here. And that's what my Ragnarok Queen is going to do. I spawn another unit of spiders to make sure to clean up these, make sure the Plague Monks don't make it to my infantry line. And my Night Goblins are just doing their job. My unbreakable unit of Night Goblins is just holding up, and it already has 78 kills, which is quite nice. And I'm just, these Plague Monks are very dangerous, so I'm just going to be skirting them. I'm going to be like outranging them, and I'm going to go for one engage here. And you'll see why I get engage. With the Skaven army only having one unit of Night Runners, it's very apparent that these Goblin Wolf Riders are not going to be that effective unless for being Hammer and Anvil. So I just had a plan, and it just looked great. I just look at this. The Foot of Gork. Look at that carnage. And with that, that's pretty much killing 2 units of Plague Monks. I did have collateral damage with my Goblin Wolf Riders, but no worries. I have a spider. I do pop my Wah a little bit later than I should, but it's still of use, and oh god, I'm getting swarmed. But the enemy lord he did bring a Plague Priest. That's why there's so many summon rats everywhere, but fortunately for me, he does not use his lord effectively. He chose Queek Headtaker, which is essentially an assassin as in a lord. He's very good at dueling enemy lords in 1-versus-1 fights. He's essentially just a jacked up assassin, right? But he's using it to go after monsters such as my Ragnarok Queen, when Skarsnik and my Orc Shaman are just having free range. Skarsnik already just, he only has 9 kills, but you'll see he racks up quite a few. Unfortunately, because of rat summons, my backline is disrupted very heavily. Luckily, due to the nerfs of summonings, they will actually be able to rout. And usually, like, they will disappear after some time, but Skaven units are so poor in leadership, they'll just rout anyway. Alright. With that, we can go back to our spider fight here. The slingers, the Death Runners with slingers, do come back and do some damage to the Ragnarok Queen, but other than the slingers, this enemy army has no way of dealing with my Ragnarok. No anti-large, only infantry, and this is a terror-causing unit. At this point, it's very clear that I have the advantage here, and the balance of power shows as well. And Skarsnik is just going to come over here with his pet goblin, chasing down these little tiny ratmen. Oh, I believe in you, Skarsnik. And here's my Brain Buster. Just taking out as many little rats as I can. There's not too many matchups in which goblins would be outnumbered, but Skaven is definitely one of them. But luckily, I brought the high AoE damage spells, and he only brought summons, like these little rats. And summons are just not going to do it for you, especially when fighting against a terror-causing unit that essentially will not take damage from infantry unless they have halberds, and he brought no storm vermin with halberds. Of course, my units start to rally back, and my goblins go in for the charge. I believe in you. The little green in the background was Skarsnik's Prodder shooting off. And we finally find Queek Headtaker. My nasty Skulkers join in the fight as well. Oh, Queek Headtaker does have a ability called Trophy Hunter, in which he just explodes. Very similar to the Poison Blast ability of Queen Khalida and such. But this is what Queek Headtaker is good for. He's very good for fighting enemy lords, and he finally uses this to his advantage. But since Skarsnik was in combat for so long, he was actually able to regenerate a second Wah, which is, that's game ending. And with that, everyone piles on into the enemy lord, and a Ragnarok can deal with pretty much anything. And there goes Queek Headtaker. With nothing left, this is a victory in my bag. Another victory for the Gobbos. Let's look at the efficiency of our units. We deployed 1,433 units, while the Skaven deployed 1,294. So pretty much even in numbers, and I only lost 700 while he lost about 950. So, and why is that? I had First of all, Night Goblins have poison, and his front line of units of Clan Rats with Spears is simply just too weak compared to Night Goblins. It's not very often that you can say units are weaker than Night Goblins, but this is one of the few cases. He did not push up his Plague Monks, these are not Censer Bearer monks, the Plague Monks to support his Clan Rats fast enough, and in fact, he spent most of his time chasing my Goblin Wolf Riders with Plague Monks. Not a very efficient play when there's a lot of infantry where the Plague Monks go. Plague Monks are anti-infantry, not anti-cavalry, or anti-large in general. But I think the biggest play here was him losing both of his Hell Pit Abominations within like the first 3 minutes of the game. It was quite like that's a huge money investment he made, and only having 60 kills and one having 20 kills, which is quite awful, is a huge dent into his economy and his units. Skarsnik and the Orc Shaman paying their dividends for sure. Orc Shaman using Foot of Gork to take out the one type of unit that's actually dangerous, which were the anti-infantry. Dealing with those Plague Monks was actually priority number 2. Hell Pit Abomination was priority 1, but we got that dealt with very quickly. And the Nasty Skulkers did well, 63, 66. The Archers not getting too many kills except for the Rusty Heirs, because most of their ammunition was actually spent on killing the Hell Pit Abominations, as seen earlier. And they did not... I was expecting a lot more skirmish power from this Skaven. I was expecting some Natty Bubo's sharpshooters, some rattling gun teams, warp fire, anything, honestly, to be more range-centric. So I brought more Wolf Riders, but the Wolf Riders just didn't have clear targets to fight other than the Night Runners with slings. And of course, the Broken Tusk Mog being great as ever, they took almost no damage and had 142 kills. And the Ragnarok Queen is just the MVP, taking out those Hell Pit Abominations and pretty much securing my win straight off the bat. Well, I hope you liked the video, guys. Please leave a like and subscribe if you liked it. So, I'll catch you guys later.